Hi, this is Rudy Jones of Palmetto State Baseball with the South Carolina College Baseball video recap for Friday, April the 4th. Lots of good games going on. The state's NCAA Division I teams went 9-1. 8 of those wins were in conference games. Let's take a look at what happened. Out in California, Clemson scored 4 unearned runs in the 7th to take the lead and held on to beat California 6-4 to open their ACC series. The Tigers improved to 28-5 overall, 7-3 in the ACC. Cal fell to 16-13 and 6-7. Dominic Leasty doubled and homered to drive in 3 runs for the Tigers, and Josh Pano had a couple of hits, and Lucas Malstat struck out 3 in the bottom of the 9th to get his 10th save of the season. Down in Mississippi, Bo Hollins had 4 hits, including a home run, and drove in 4 runs as South Carolina beat Mississippi State 7-3 to open that Southeastern Conference series. It was the first Friday night conference win of the season for the Gamecocks, who are now 19-12 overall, 2-8 in the SEC. Mississippi State fell to 17-13 and 1-9. Brendan Sweeney had a strong relief outing for the Gamecocks, retiring the final 9 batters of the game, including 4 by strikeouts. By the way, Game 2 of that series has been moved up to an earlier start to 1 o'clock on Saturday. Elsewhere, Jacob Morrison allowed a run on 3 hits through 8 innings, and Coastal Carolina beat Arkansas State 4-1 to open their Sun Belt Conference series. The Chanticleers are now 22-8 overall, 7-3 in the Sun Belt. Arkansas State fell to 13-16 and 4-6. Elsewhere, Johnny Sweeney hit his 2nd home run of the game. It happened to be a grand slam to make a 6-6 tie in the top of the 9th, and USC Upstate beat High Point 10-6 to open that Big South Conference series. Sweeney had 6 RBI in the game. The Spartans improved to 15-15 overall, 4-3 in the Big South. High Point fell to 20-10 and 6-1. Up in Kalamazoo, Michigan, Andrew Stanley struck out 11 batters in 6 innings, and the Citadel beat Western Michigan 7-4 to open that non-conference series. The Bulldogs improved to 17-14. The Citadel had a 5-0 lead. Western Michigan fought back within 4. Then the Bulldogs added a couple of runs after that. Arian Patel, was 3 for 3 for the Bulldogs in that game. Also, Landon Penfield doubled and drove in 2 runs as College of Charleston beat Monmouth 5-1 in the opener of that Coastal Athletic Association series. The Cougars improved to 17-11 overall, 4-3 in the CAA. Monmouth fell to 16-14 and 3-4. Jake Randolph had a school record 6 hits. He went 6 for 6, and Presbyterian beat Longwood by a score of 15-9 to open their 15-8 to open their Big South Conference series down in Clinton. The Blue Hose are now 15-16 overall, 7-3 in the Big South. Longwood fell to 8-22 and 3-4. In Rock Hill, Harrison Wilson struck out 9 while allowing 3 hits and a run in 7 innings as Winthrop won the opener of a Big South Conference series with UNC Asheville by the score of 10-3. The Eagles improved to 17-15 overall, 4-3 in the Big South. Asheville fell to 10-19 and 3-7. In Radford, Virginia, Nathan Martinez, Lou Rice, and Caden Smith drove in 3 runs apiece, and Charleston Southern took the lead midway through the game to beat Radford by a score of 12-6 to open that Big South Conference series. The Buccaneers are now 15-12 overall, 3-7 in the Big South. Radford fell to 14-15 and 3-4. In the only game where a state Division I team lost, Samford scored 6 runs in the first inning and 4 in the second, and went on to run rule Wofford 14-0 in 7 innings to open that Southern Conference series over at Russell C. King Field in Spartanburg. The Bulldogs entered that game in last place. Granted, it's early in the season, last place in the Southern Conference, but they certainly made up some ground. Samford is now 15-15 overall, 2-2 in the SoCon. Wofford fell to 21-10 and 2-2. In Conference Carolinas, North Greenville scored 6 runs in the top of the 10th inning in Game 1 and held on to win that game 10-6 over Mount Olive. And the Trailblazers broke the tie in the middle innings of Game 2 and won 7-2 over Mount Olive to complete a doubleheader sweep. The Trailblazers are now 21-8 overall, 16-7 in the Conference Carolinas. Mount Olive is 20-15 and 11-9 and has lost 6 straight. That's unusual for the folks from Pickletown. Francis Marion won its 9th straight game. They beat Emmanuel by a score of 12-3 over in Florence. The Patriots are now 28-9 overall, 16-6 in the Conference Carolinas. Emmanuel fell to 17-20 and 10-12. Southern Wesleyan had a non-conference game with Wingate up in North Carolina. The Warriors and Bulldogs each had 3 hits, but Wingate won the game 6-0. Non-conference game. Southern Wesleyan fell to 8-29. Barton scored the winning run against Erskine in the bottom of the 11th inning on an infield single and won the opener of that Conference Carolina series by a score of 9-8. The Bulldogs are now 24-12 overall, 15-7 in the Conference Carolinas. Erskine fell to 14-20 and 5-14. In the Peach Belt Conference, Lander beat USC Beaufort 20-0 in 7 innings to open that series. The Bearcats improved to 25-11 overall, 13-3 in the conference. Beaufort fell to 5-28 and 1-15. Taichi Nakao was 4-for-4 for the Bearcats in that game. Georgia College did all its scoring in the first 2 innings and a 10-6 win over USC Aiken in the Peach Belt Conference. Hunter Thompson had 2 homers and drove in all 6 runs for the Pacers, who fell to 16-20 overall, 6-10 in the conference. Georgia College improved to 22-15 and is tied for first in the conference at 14-2. Flagler scored 4 runs in the first inning and kept Claflin winless in the Peach Belt with a 12-1 7-inning victory. The Saints are now 23-12 overall, 8-8 in the conference. Claflin fell to 5-27-1 and 0-16. In the South Atlantic Conference, Carson Newman took a 5-0 lead after a half inning, but Coker rallied back and won it with 2 runs in the 9th inning to beat Carson Newman 7-6 in the South Atlantic Conference. The Cobras are now 21-15 overall, 10-9 in the conference. Carson Newman, which is nationally ranked, fell to 26-10 and 15-4. Anderson broke a 4-4 tie with 3 runs in the top of the 9th inning and won at Lincoln Memorial 7-4 to open that series. The Trojans are now 20-15, 9-10 in the conference. Lincoln Memorial fell to 19-16 and 9-10. Virginia Wise scored 4 runs in the 8th inning and beat Newberry by a score of 6-4 to open that SAC series. Virginia Wise is now 2-16 overall, 11-11 in the conference. Make it 22-16. I'm sorry. And Newberry fell to 19-17, 8-14. Emory and Henry scored 2 runs in the 4th and 2 more in the 5th, and went on to beat Limestone 9-2 in the opener of a series over in Gaffney. Emory and Henry is now 12-24 overall, 4-15 in the conference. Limestone, which had reached 500 for the first time in a while with a win earlier this week, fell to 18-19 and 11-11. In other games, Keelan Sloan singled, doubled, walked, scored a run, and drove in 4 as Voorhees snapped a 6-game losing streak by beating Wilberforce by a score of 17-8 in Game 1 of their doubleheader. In Game 2, the Tigers won that one 5-3 as Yojaron Wan was 2 for 3 and scored 3 runs. Voorhees is now 15-17 overall, 12-11 in the HBCU Athletic Conference. Wilberforce fell to 6-26 and 3-17. Elsewhere in the Appalachian Athletic Conference, Montreat took the opener of a series with Columbia International. The Cavaliers won that game by the score of 6-1, and that moved Montreat ahead of Columbia International in the AAC standings. Montreat is now 16-22 overall, 8-11 in the conference. Columbia International fell to 19-16 and 7-2. Toccoa Falls jumped on Bob Jones early and won that game 22-4 to open that series. The Screaming Eagles are now 16-17. Bob Jones fell to 8-18. Florida National took a doubleheader from Morris. First game score was 14-8. Second game score was 21-10, and that dropped Morris to 1-28 on the season. That's all the college baseball scores we had for Friday for state teams, but let's take a look at the other ACC and SEC scores. In the ACC, Duke beat North Carolina 9-5. Florida State scored a run in the ninth to beat Wake Forest 5-4. Louisville swept Boston College. First game score was 12-8. Second game score was 17-5 in 7 innings. Miami beat Pitt 9-7. Notre Dame beat Virginia Tech 7-2. Virginia beat NC State 8-6. And Georgia Tech and Stanford are still playing as I record this. I will get the score and updated standings on the website later on tonight or early in the morning. As of now, Florida State leads the ACC with an 8-2 record. Clemson is 7-3. Georgia Tech is 8-4, pending its result at Stanford. And following them is Louisville at 7-4, Duke at 8-6. Virginia Tech, Virginia, and Wake Forest are all at 7-6. In the ACC on Friday, Auburn beat Alabama 10-0. Florida fell to Vanderbilt 6-0. Kentucky beat Ole Miss 5-4 in 10 innings to make up a rainout from last night. Then in the regular scheduled game, the Rebels came back and won that one 3-1. LSU clinched a series win over Oklahoma with a 10-2 win, and Tennessee shut out Texas A&M 10-0 to open that series. Texas and Georgia were among four teams tied for first in the conference going into Friday night. Texas beat the Bulldogs head-to-head 5-1. Missouri and Arkansas were rained out on Friday night. They'll try to play two on Saturday, weather permitting. Elsewhere in the SEC standings, Tennessee and Texas are now 9-1. Arkansas is 8-1. LSU is 9-2. Georgia is 8-2. Ole Miss is 7-4. Alabama is 6-4. Auburn's 5-5, along with Vanderbilt. Kentucky is 5-6. Oklahoma is also 5-6. South Carolina is in 12th place at 2-8. One game ahead of Florida, Mississippi State, and Texas A&M. Let's take a look at the schedule for Saturday. I'm not going to break it down by classes. I'm just going to go by time right now. Boston College. Anyway, let's try that again. Bob Jones is at Toccoa Falls for a doubleheader starting at noon. Carson Newman is at Coker for a noon doubleheader. College of Charleston is at Monmouth for a 1 o'clock game. Columbia International and Montreat close out their series with a doubleheader at noon in the North Carolina mountains. Erskine and Barton play a doubleheader at noon in Wilson, North Carolina. Florida National is at Morris for the second straight doubleheader. Game starts at noon in Sumter at Riley Park. Wilberforce is at Voorhees for a doubleheader at noon. Anderson is at Lincoln. That may be a single game. They may have changed that. I apologize. But they'll noon start. Anderson is at Lincoln Memorial for a 1 o'clock start, doubleheader. Emmanuel is at Francis Marion for a 1 o'clock doubleheader. Emory and Henry is at Limestone for a 1 p.m. doubleheader. Newberry and Virginia Wise play a doubleheader at 1 o'clock up in Virginia. North Greenville completes its series with Mount Olive at 1 o'clock in Mount Olive, North Carolina. South Carolina, Mississippi State, as I said, moved their game up earlier because of rain issues. They're set for a 1 o'clock start in Starkville. Southern Wesleyan is at Wingate for a 1 o'clock doubleheader. In Region 10 play, USC Lancaster is at first place Florence Darlington Tech for a doubleheader at 1 o'clock. USC Sumter is at Gaston College for a doubleheader at 1 o'clock in Gastonia. The Fire Ants are risking an 11-game winning streak. USC Union is at USC Salkehatchie for a 1 o'clock doubleheader. Elsewhere, Coastal Carolina is at home at 2 o'clock against Arkansas State. Claflin is at Flagler at 2 o'clock in Game 2 of that series. Wofford tries to even its series with Sanford with a 2 o'clock home game in Spartanburg. The Citadel tries to clinch a series win over Western Michigan with a 2 p.m. game. Winthrop is at home against UNC Asheville at 2. USC Aiken is at Georgia College at 2. USC Beaufort and Lander will complete their Peach Belt Conference series with a 2 o'clock doubleheader down in Greenwood. Benedict opens a series against Clark Atlanta with a 3 o'clock doubleheader in Atlanta. Longwood is at Presbyterian at 3 o'clock. Charleston Southern is at Radford at 4 o'clock. Clemson is at California at 5, trying to clinch a series win. And rounding out the Saturday schedule for state teams, USC Upstate is at High Point at 6:30 p.m. All these results and schedules, scores, etc. are at PalmettoStateBaseball.com. I provide updates on Twitter or X at the handle Palmetto Base. Let me know your comments as to what you like to see on my website and what you don't like to see. Right now, I've got all the Friday night boxes posted except for Game 2 of Voorhees and Wilberforce. I'm at the mercy of the teams there. And the Clemson, California box should be posted shortly, and I'll get that on as soon as possible. For now, thanks for listening to the Palmetto State Baseball College Recap for Friday night, April the 4th. This is Rudy Jones of Palmetto State Baseball saying good night and God bless.